Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Aho here with KissAnalog.com. So today we are going to go over the top 10 list of scopes under $300. You can get a heck of a scope. So let's go over the list. Let's jump into it. Hey, but before we do, let me just explain a few things about this list. Most of the specifications of these scopes are very similar, and so I'm only going to point out where they differ and why one would be above the next in my list. Okay, so today you can get one heck of a scope. Yes, scope that would cost maybe 10x just a few years ago, or by other manufacturers. Now the scopes on this list, they might be made in China, maybe I think some in Taiwan, but so are the Tektronix and some of the other brand name scopes you see today. So don't let that get in your way, okay? These scopes are very powerful, and I used to be a big Tektronix guy, but as you can see, I found me a different brand, and with that I got a lot of scope and I did not have to pay a lot of money. It did not break the bank. Welcome to my top 10 scopes under $300 US. These are all 2-channel scopes. They're all benchtop. They have many of the same specifications. Where they differ and where I think it puts one above another, that's where I'm going to point out. I'm going to have a list here that you can take a snapshot, and you can use that for shopping if you're into looking for a new scope. 9 out of 10 of these can be found on Amazon, and if you do go there, please support me by using the links I provide. Thanks. Let's get going. So, scope number 10. Dong, dong. It's the GW Instek. Picture provided. I have pictures of each one of these. This one is 100 meg. It only has 250 megasamples per second, which for 100 megahertz, not quite enough. It's kind of why it found itself at the bottom of the list. The memory length is only 4,000 points. I thought it was 25,000, but it's 4,000. And the screen size is also on the smaller. It's one of the smallest on this list. It is 5.7 inches. That's hard to read. I kind of have to scribble that. There's 19 automatic measurements, which is also a little bit on the low side. It had a 4.6 star rating, which is also not too bad, but I think once you get under 4.5, if there's enough people reviewing, that might be something where you want to go read the reviews and see why. A lot of people will give a 4. I mean, I don't mean to say a lot of people. Some people will give a 4 out of 5 rating even though they say great scope. So, go figure. And then there are some people that are just completely unhappy and might give a 1 rating, and they don't really explain why. You know, you got to read the ratings, but it is something to look at, I guess. So, okay, and also it was $299 at the top of the price range on this list. So, because of that, and because of some of these, it is 100 megahertz, but the 250 megasamples per second makes that, you know, kind of iffy, and a small screen. Okay, at $299, I think that deserves to be at the bottom of the list. And then number 9, it's Uni-T. $253. This is the one that I found on eBay. I wanted to find a Uni-T to see if I could find something to represent that company. Anyway, $253, so not bad. But it is only 25 megahertz, kind of on the low end. 250 megasamples, which was the same as this one for 100 meg, but for 25 meg, that's about right. So that's okay. Memory length, 25,000 points. So you can see it stepped up a lot from 4,000. And it has a 7-inch screen, which is quite a bit bigger than this 5.7. 32 automatic measurements, which is nice, but no star ratings on eBay. So there's other scopes that have better specifications that made themselves higher on the list. The Uni-T UTD2025CL, 25 meg, 250 meg samples. Okay, now again, these are just, you know, my take on this. You want to do your own investigation. The physical size of these scopes are all very similar, so let's move on. Alright, moving up the list. We have another Uni-T. Now this is one that I did find on Amazon. However, I didn't know if I should even put it on the list because the shipping is $97. It is $279. It is 50 megahertz. It has a lot better specs than this Uni-T. That's why I put it on the list, because maybe if Amazon decided to carry it in their prime, that shipping cost would go away. 25,000 points, 28 automatic measurements, and a 7-inch screen. And it's 1 gig samples per second, way more than you need for 50 megahertz, but 7-inch screen. This is a higher res screen, I think, than this one up here, but Uni-T UTD2052CEX, 50 meg, 1 gig samples. $279. Now let's go up to number 7. Sorry about that, kind of made a mistake there, but I was thinking ahead. Anyway, this is the Owen, and this one is the SDS5032E-V, and that's a 30 meg scope, 250 megasamples per second. So for 30 meg, that's probably appropriate. Memory length is 10,000 points, and it has an 8-inch screen. This has a nice screen on this Owen scope. It's $259, so it's right there at the lower end of the price scale, and it has 20 automatic measurements, 4.3 star rating. Kind of low, but again, it's only 7 people. If you go look at why it got that, I think you won't feel so bad about that. I think this is one where somebody gave it a 1-star rating just because they didn't say why. And then one person gave it a, I think this is the one where they gave it a 4 out of 5, and they said great scope. So, you know, so when you only have 7 people, it can really affect the rating by just one bad rating. Owon SDS5032E-V, E-V, I guess. 30 meg, 250 megasamples per second, 255. Nice screen, largest on the list. Layout's very similar to the other scopes. You'll see as we go up the list how we get to better specs. Now we come up to a Siglent. Okay, now the Siglent, this is SDS1052DL Plus. It's a 50 meg. A little better than this one, 500 megasamples per second, which is you know, appropriate for the 50 meg, and memory length is 32K. So see, it's stepping up from this 10K. Screen went down to 7-inch, but 8-inch is pretty big. 7-inch is a good size screen. 8-inch is great too, and that's why the one made it on the list. But this one has 32 automatic measurements with a pass-fail. It's one of the few scopes on the list that has a pass-fail, so if that's something important, then maybe that makes its way higher in the list for you. The pass-fail gives you a BNC output on the back that gives you a way to count how many failures you get. And this one had 4.6 stars from 142 people, so that's a pretty nice rating, especially with that many people. Being only in position 6 is maybe questionable for this scope, but $279. Okay, Siglent, the SDS1052DL Plus, 50 megahertz, 500 megasamples per second, 32,000 points. Showing the memory, the deep memory. Well, I mean, you know, for this scopes of this list, this caliber. Here's the pass-fail screen. There's waveform you might have, you set the pass-fail the screen on the outside of it. It says fail 0, pass 87, whatever that was. There's the 32 measurements. Let's go up to see what else we have. The Rigol DS1052E. This is a 50 meg scope, 1 gigasamples per second. It's way more than you need for 50 meg. Record length is very nice, 1 megapoints. That's, well, one of the highest on the list. There's a couple other scopes with that, but that's very high. Reason it's a little bit lower on the list is our 5.7 inch screen, low res. That's not a great screen. So it was $259. So again, one of the lower prices, but small screen. The screen has to be one of the more expensive parts of the scope, and I think that takes a drop. 20 automatic measurements, which isn't very much either. It's also on the low end, but it does have the pass-fail feature, so that's kind of a biggie. Okay, it kind of topped this Siglent, which I think that 1 megapoints is why it topped it. But other than that, this scope here might be a better scope. Okay, it's $20 more. So because of that and this megapoints, that's why the Rigol edged the Siglent here. It only had a 4.1 stars from 87 people. That's a significant number of people. That says low. I can't even read that. But anyway, that says low. That's kind of low for a rating on Amazon. That might be worth looking at if you're interested in Rigol. The Rigol DS1052E, 50 megahertz, 1 gigasample per second. Small screen, but otherwise a nice scope. Hopefully you don't pick a scope because of the name. I don't think, I'm not sure how much that means these days. I think they're all, from reading, you know, the people that buy these different scopes, a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about every one of them. And so I'm not sure. It's, if you want to be so brand, you know, specific. But anyway, another Rigol DS1102E. Now this one's 100 meg, 1 gigasamples. There's plenty enough samples for that, so that's doing good. But it's got the high record length. That record length is kind of a big theme with scopes. So that's why the Rigol's made themselves on, you know, higher up on this list than some of these other scopes, just because of that. The 5.7 inch screen is why they're kind of on the low side on this list, because, you know, that's small for today. And once you're using a 7-inch screen, going back at a 5.7 inch screen seems pretty small. I mean, you know, who wants to give up their big screen TVs to go back to looking at 32-inch screens, or, you know, whatever you have these days? But I think you know what I mean. Again, kind of low end on the automatic measurements. These are in the same series, so they're going to have very, very similar specs, except for this, you know, being 100 megahertz. So $299, you go up $40, which, you know, is fairly significant at this price range to get that 100 meg. So between these two scopes, I don't know. The thing is it got a 4.4 star, which is still kind of on the low side, and it had 131 people, so that's significant. When you look at 131 and 87 people, and they're getting under 4.5, I think that's why the Rigol deserves to be kind of lower on the list. Even the 1 megapoints is what pushed it up on the list. Other than that, I think it would have been down here on the list somewhere. Rigol DS1102E, 100 megahertz, 1 gigasample. It's kind of a small screen, but otherwise it's a nice scope. A lot of the larger screens today, instead of having 5 grids, they'll have 7. I've even seen, I think even some of them have 8. That's the Rigol. Okay, so the Hantek. Hantek is, whoops, he's the price winner. Okay, Hantek is 238, lowest price scope, but 70 megahertz. You know, it's not a lot of difference between 70 and 100. 1 gig of samples, which is plenty. Record length is 40K points. It's still higher than a lot of these, lower than the 1 meg, but has a 7-inch screen. And it has 4.5 stars from 79 people. This has a nice res screen, and 40K points is fairly high for most of these, you know, except for the Rygos, the 1 megs. That 40K points is pretty good. But everything else, I'm thinking the low price, 238, even compared to, I mean, this is, you know, you're talking it's 10% less than this scope. Actually, I made a mistake on the Hantek. It's the DSO5072P, 70 meg band. I think the other one might have been in 50 meg scope, but this one's the 237/56. I rounded off 238. This is the Hantek. Has a nice layout. It's back to the scope USB. That's why that guy's made himself number 3. So now we come up here. The runner-up to the best scope on this list. He's 100 meg. 1 gig, record length is 40K, so again, same series, so the specs are going to be very similar. 7-inch screen, okay, 4.6 stars, but only 9 people. And I may put this in parentheses to, you know, they are the same series, so the ratings are very similar. So I think you're looking at 4.5 for either one of these scopes. You know. Dun dun dun! Let's see who I think is the #1 choice. It's a Siglent. Okay. It's actually the Siglent SDS1102CML Plus. The plus means they upgraded the screen. It has a 7-inch screen, high res 7-inch, nice res. So record length is 1 million points. It's as good as any other one on this list. The screen is almost the only one that gets a better screen is the Owen, but because of the 1 meg and the 7-inch, 32 automatic measurements, it's as high as any one on the list. Plus he has a pass-fail output on the back, and it has a 4.5 star rating from 19 people. Now again, if you come down to Siglent, same series, well, similar series, sorry, it's not the same, but you know, let's just say it's the same brand. You know, this one had 4.6, 4.5. Down here we had 142 people, and up here we have 19. $299. It's the top of the price, but it also has some of the other of the specs being at the top. Now, one thing I want to point out on this Siglent, the winner of this top 10 list, SDS1102CML Plus. The Plus gives a better high-res screen. $299. But you notice you're saving $60 because the list price is normally $359. That helped this scope beat the other scopes. Gave better specs from a scope that would not have been on this list if it had not been on sale. Okay, that's the winner. Nice layout. This is showing an FFT screen. One thing I want to mention about this also, all the scopes have FFT. This Siglent scope though, it shows you the signal you're doing an FFT on, and the FFT at the bottom, but you have the option of making the FFT fill the whole window and not looking at this. So you can either do the 2-window thing, or you can do a single window. Yeah, I think the Siglent's one of the few, if not the only one that I know of does that. That's something very nice, because instead of having to see these 2 little windows, if you're doing an FFT, you don't really care about this anymore. So, and if you do, you can have the option of doing that. But it's nice to be able to get your full window looking at your FFT. And okay, just wanted to point that out. Another thing to point out on the winner here is the back has USB like many of these. I think all of these scopes have a USB. There may be some that don't, so you want to check, but I believe I found USBs on all the ones, at least the ones I checked. And this has a pass-fail BNC output, so that's that, pass-fail. This one also has a LAN connection. Very few of the scopes on this list will have that connection. I should have pointed that out on each one, but if that's important to you, go, and if you like one of the other scopes on the list. But for $299, you're getting quite a bit of scope with this guy. Well, it's on about a 20% sell, so that's why a scope of this caliber got put on this list. So there you go. And I don't think that sell is a limited sell. So, but just in case it is, don't hesitate. Use my link. By the way, this is on some questions and answers on the winner. The Siglent on the top of my list. I'm showing this just to show that if you're not familiar with Amazon, besides the star system, they also have a question and answer board. So there's 13 more that we can look at, but I just wanted to point out this because if you're researching a scope, it is nice to read this as well. And for instance, I didn't point it out, but that 7-inch screen comes with a nice 800 by 480 resolution, okay? And this guy was asking about the Rigol scopes having, where you have to pay for the upgraded features. On these entry-level scopes, or the scopes I'm calling entry-level, I don't know if there's those options that you can buy. On the Hantek, that 70 meg scope, I've read where people have upgraded that to 200 megahertz. So I think if you look on the internet, you'll find people showing you how you can upgrade that scope to 200 meg. So yeah, anyway, that scope could crawl up the list if that's what you're interested in. But okay, just wanted to point this out. This might help shops. Siglent number 1, $299. So there you go. Give me 2 thumbs up if you like this, and well, sorry, you can only give me 1 thumbs up, but they should be able to give 2 thumbs up, right? So scopes under $299. The next video I'm going to do will be scopes under $500. These scopes, they're under $300. I could have titled this the entry-level scopes, because that's really what these are, is entry-level scopes, and the price kind of shows that. I didn't call it entry-level because at the higher price points you'll find scopes with specs maybe not even as good as these, and they're by other brand names that you recognize, but they're also entry-level scopes, meaning these are kind of the lowest specs you're going to find on a scope these days. And so that's why I'm kind of entry level, even though these scopes are very powerful, very capable scopes. What I'm going to say the difference between these scopes and the ones under 500 is there's a couple things. One of the main things is the record length. Instead of 1 million points, we're going to go up a factor of 10 or so on the next level of scopes. So that'll be on the next video. Hope you'll watch that. But if you don't care about the deep memory or the record length, and you want to keep your price low, that's why I did this video, because I think these are very good scopes. If you read what these people have to say about their scopes, I think you'll agree. I mean, for the price point, very hard to beat. But this is what I consider consider all these scopes entry-level scopes, mostly because entry-level should not mean that they're inexpensive, but it should mean that maybe you don't get the specifications aren't such of the more expensive scopes or of the next level of scope. So entry level is kind of a beginner scope. These are beginner scopes, okay? Although they're very powerful. I just want to say that. 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, you would have spent a lot more money before these companies came out with these scopes. You would have spent a lot more money from the Tektronix companies, and you would not have had as powerful a scope. But those scopes 10 years ago, they didn't call them entry-level scopes either. If they had these specs, they wouldn't have been considered entry-level. So just saying, in today's world, if we want to use that term, then I would consider entry-level anything without deep memory, because I really think that is the game breaker in today's scopes. So okay, hope you like that. Give me a thumbs up, and if you want to buy one of these scopes, you're interested in shopping, please use my links. Okay, thanks for watching.